BBC. Yes. Very big crowd. All right, welcome back. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, we applaud. We applaud.
Well, I like my own jokes, if you haven't noticed. I want to thank Senators Heinrich and Klobuchar and Stabenow for joining us today. Now, we spoke about an array of topics we intend to make progress on during the work period, and one important issue we're focusing on this afternoon is AI. As you may know, this afternoon the Senate will hold the first ever classified all-Senate briefing on the national security implications of AI. It'll be our second of the 3 all-Senate briefings on this issue. The last briefing had close to 70 senators, and I'm hopeful this one will be just as successful. There's a lot of interest on both sides of the aisle with AI. We'll be briefed by the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, Deputy Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks, and other top experts in AI from our defense and intelligence agencies. Today's classified briefing is crucial. Because of all the issues AI will impact, national security may well be the most consequential. In the wrong hands, the danger of AI could be extreme. But AI could also become one of the greatest tools we have for keeping America safe, for predicting and intercepting attacks on the homeland, for adding unprecedented sophistication to our cybersecurity, and for protecting our elections. So we have a real responsibility to educate ourselves on these matters. It's a difficult issue. It's an issue that keeps evolving, but we have to get our hands around it, and these briefings are one of the many ways we're trying to do that. These briefings are part of a larger effort to learn more about AI. So last month, as many of you saw, I laid out my safe innovation framework for AI. A way for Congress to balance the urgent need to promote American innovation in AI while making sure it's done in a safe and responsible way. Last month, I also announced I'll invite the top AI experts to come to Congress and convene a series of first-ever AI Insight Forums this fall for a new and unique approach to developing legislation. There's a lot we don't know about AI. We need outside help if we're going to ensure congressional action is effective, responsible, and promotes innovation in a safe way. The Insight Forums will be bring the best of the best to Congress. Our job as legislators will be to listen and learn as much as we can so we can translate these ideas into legislative action. And we're getting a very positive response from those we're asking to participate in the forums, from the best people, from the top people in the field, and in areas like intellectual property, fair facial recognition, and other areas where we need guardrails. So we're going to have people come and talk about how we can stay first in innovation, and we're going to have people come about and talk about what guardrails are needed, and the two are going to be together. And we're going to try to meld some really good answers that thread that needle between promoting innovation but having safe guardrails. Okay, today's briefing represents an important step in our efforts on this issue, and I want to thank my colleagues. I want to particularly thank Senators Heinrich, Rounds, and Young, who have been part of our little group that's steering this and requested the hearings and working together in a bipartisan way on AI. Though important, of course, AI isn't all we're focused on in this period. We hope to make progress and get the NDAA bill done, hopefully by the end of this work period, and we're also making progress on prescription drugs, insulin, and online safety. Senator Stabenow. And other issues as well. Those are just a few.
Thank you so much. Well, the reality is that artificial intelligence is already making its way into every sector of our economy with big benefits and some big risks. And that's why what Senator Schumer is talking about, his leadership on this issue, is so important for our country, and it's really important that it be bipartisan. So I think this is a very important time on a very important subject. When we look at agriculture, crop and soil monitoring systems use AI, as well as harvesting systems, which is very positive. When we look at the medical potential for advancements in diagnosis and treatments of diseases is really enormous. When we look at autonomous vehicles, which we know a lot about in Michigan, it's a very big deal in terms of safety, in terms of technology. Our military is very interested in ways to use this technology, which is also safety for our folks in the field. And so just as autonomous vehicles need to follow the rules of the road, though, so do all other areas of AI. As AI becomes more a part of our lives, it is critical that we are ensuring consumer protections, national security protections, civil rights protections. In so many ways, we have to put a lens around this that is in the public interest. We have to make sure the right policies and accountability are applied and enforced. It's not just enough to simply have an increase in efficiency coming from AI, because there's so many other implications, as we know. It's got to benefit the public, it's got to grow our middle class, it's got to create opportunities to increase our safety. And we need to be vigilant on how we are looking at how AI is being used by our adversaries, whether it's through disinformation efforts, which we know exist, or military tactics. The U.S. must remain the global leader on this technology, and we have every intention of doing that. That's why this bipartisan classified briefing is so important, and why continued bipartisanship in AI policy is absolutely essential. I strongly support Leader Schumer's AI policy framework and look forward to working with colleagues as we address AI's potential and its risk. Senator Klobuchar.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back. I was looking at the senators up here and thinking that every single one of us have pulled off bills that people didn't think could be bipartisan. Senator Schumer with the semiconductor work, with Senator Young, the work that Senator Stabenow has done on the Farm Bill over and over again, the work that Senator Heinrich has done on conservation, passing a major bill. This is possible, and we have to do it across the aisle. And I have been so impressed so far sitting in on the briefing, looking forward to the one today, how people are trying to find that common ground. We as a country can't afford to just duke this out and fight it out and not move forward, not only for the innovation that my colleagues mentioned and the potential, but also for the risks, the great risks for a country that is built on intellectual property and innovation. Not protecting that would be a major disaster for our economy. The security risks, where we know people would try to access all kinds of secrets and other things using this technology. And the one risk that I'm going to focus on as the chair of the Rules Committee, which is the very risk to our democracy. What have we seen so far? Well, in our hearing in the Judiciary Committee, when I specifically asked ChatGPT what should we do about a polling place that has significant waiting lines in Bloomington, Minnesota, had a specific polling place that was real, where should voters go? It immediately spit out 1234 Elm Street. Not a real address, not an address in Bloomington, Minnesota. Think about if that happened on Election Day. Then we have the story of Elizabeth Warren, where a video has been circulated, 200,000 people seen it on Twitter, that basically has her saying, and you cannot tell it's not her, that the other party shouldn't vote, that people who are members of the other party shouldn't vote. She didn't say that. Then you already have videos posting in the Republican primary that are false videos, and now you have banter AI coming out, which can actually mock up the voices of the president and other elected officials and make their constituents think that it's them. This does not have a place in a workable democracy. And that is why I've been working across the aisle and as part of this esteemed group that Senator Heinrich and Senator Schumer are leading to work on this election issue. We had just saw a deadlock out of the FEC when it came to making some decisions about how to regulate this. Yes, some of it has to have marks and labels on it. We already have a bill to do that, but some of it is going to have to be outright banned, or it's going to completely fool our constituents on both sides of the aisle, and that cannot have a place, that kind of disinformation in our democracy. So yes, we're going to have some great innovations and there's great possibilities here, but there is no reaping these benefits if we let the work of defending and strengthening our democracy fall by the wayside. That's why we can't drag our heels, and I appreciate Senator Schumer's leadership and his willingness to take this on a bipartisan basis.
Thank you. Senator Heinrich.
Thanks, everyone. And I want to commend my colleagues because you can kind of see how this technology is already creating a lot of effort and thought in every one of our committees because it touches on so much. Back in 2019, I got together with Rob Portman and started the AI caucus, and it was just an interest that both of us had. It wasn't something that had touched a lot of our colleagues at the time. And now, 6 months ago, this has really exploded in everyone's consciousness, and we did it at the time because we saw a lot of opportunities for getting ahead of this, for training the American workforce, for creating all kinds of economic opportunities as things get automated. But I think we all know now, and you've heard it articulated here today, that we have to address some of the risks of this technology too. You can imagine you wouldn't want to have ChatGPT, as advanced as it is, deciding whether or not you get a mortgage. And there are a lot of pitfalls here where bias and bad data can really impact people's lives. And we have a sort of moment of potential bipartisanship here that we need to take advantage of, create a common understanding of what is going to make sense for the American experience as we wrestle with AI. Upping our game across the board in the Senate is really already creating a lot of opportunities. I don't think we can overstate how important these different forums and member briefings are to make sure that everybody's sort of coming at this with a plethora of information. I think you're seeing an emerging agreement that we have to maintain our leadership in this. This is a place where America is ahead of the rest of the world, and there would be huge consequences if we don't maintain that. We need to train our workforce, and that's something that's already got a lot of bipartisan support, but we're also going to have to create those guardrails, and that's where things are going to be a little more difficult and a little stickier, and making sure that we protect all the American values that have served us so well for well over 200 years. But I am very excited about all of these events because you can just see how people are thinking around this issue coalescing, and it's not coalescing on a partisan basis yet. And so before it becomes potentially partisan, I really think we owe it to the country to think through this AI lens on all the things that are important to us and figure out what guardrails do we want in place.
Thank you, Martin. As you can see, AI is really important to our caucus, and we have a caucus-wide effort. So many senators are having input. But it's also important to the Republican caucus, and we're keeping this as a bipartisan as we can, because it's so important for the future of our country. Yes?
Senator Schumer, do you believe that Julie Sue should continue serving as acting labor secretary if she doesn't have enough votes to be confirmed?
Well, look, I think she'll be a very good labor secretary, and we're working hard to get her approved. Yes?
Are you going to bring Steve Brown's nominations before for confirmation?
Look, the bottom line is very simple. Now, as of today, both Senators McConnell and Thune, the Republican leaders, they opposed what Senator Tuberville is doing, risking our military security, and it's up to them. They have to put the pressure on him to back off. Yes?
On insulin, are you going to hold a vote before August, and are you going to include health and judiciary drug pricing bills?
We care very much about getting $35 insulin for everybody, just as we were able to get it for people on Medicare last year in the IRA. And we're working very hard to get different inputs from the different committees so we can put together a bill on the floor that will pass. We're working. There's a very, very high priority for us. Yes. As I said, she's a very good nominee. She'll make a great labor secretary, and we're going to do everything we can to get her passed. Yes.
Just to be clear, are you ruling out bringing up some of the higher profile nominations for the military individually up for votes?
As I said, the responsibility is on Senator McConnell, Senator Thune, and the Republican caucus to dissuade Tuberville from doing this thing which is hurting our national security in a very real way, and every week it gets worse. Yes.
In your dear colleague letter, you mentioned permitting reform. What do you have in mind, and is it your understanding that semiconductor manufacturing facilities need permitting reform to move ahead at an expedition?
Look, the bottom line is we want permitting reform. The Schumer Manchin bill was put on the floor. I voted for it. We got the vast majority of our caucus for it, and we really believe in permitting reform. It has to be done in a bipartisan way. A very, very vital part, essential part of that is transmission, and we need both, and we're going to work very hard to get both. Yes.
What do you make of the fact that House Republicans are struggling to pass both the NDAA and potentially upcoming spending bills? Are you concerned at all that you may not have a negotiating partner on the other side of the aisle when it comes to the spending?
I would hope that House Republicans would do what we're doing in the Senate and trying to work it out in a bipartisan way. Two of the most important bills we face this year, the appropriations bill and the NDAA bill, are proceeding in a very good bipartisan way here, and the House ought to learn from that example. Last one.
How do you feel about the bipartisan push to eliminate wasteful spending from the Pentagon? And is that a concern that the Pentagon continues to fail audits?
Well, we always got to look at wasteful spending. It shouldn't be anywhere. But we also know we have great security needs with the increasing threat from the Chinese government, obviously the war in Ukraine, and there has to be a balance. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.